see you, Donnie Carr. I see you. Matter of fact, I see you so clearly, I'm going to do something that I haven't done since you arrived in New Orleans. I'm going to refer to you as Derek Carr instead of calling you Donnie Carr, because today you earned it. And don't worry, Denise Allen, I saw you too. I saw you coaching the best game of your head coaching career, which isn't too much of an accomplishment for Dennis Allen because his career as a head coach, it's been an unmitigated disaster. But we're not talking about that today. We're not talking about the negativity, because that was one of the best performances that I have seen from my Saints in years. What a difference a competent offensive coordinator can make. I hope Peter Beater Carmichael was taking notes. Offensively, Saints pretty much had the same personnel that they did last year. Only difference between this season and last season is that they fired the offensive coordinator who was calling plays like he was playing Tecmo Bowl. What a performance from my Saints. Now, I know what some of you guys are thinking. Well, Casey, they were playing the Panthers. Carolina is the worst team in the league. Yeah, no shit. Bryce Young is arguably the worst quarterback in the NFL. Actually, Bryce Young, he is the worst quarterback in the NFL. Caleb Williams, he looked like a wet fart today, but the Bears still won the game. Why? Because Caleb Williams did exactly what you want young quarterbacks to do. He didn't find ways to lose the game. He didn't turn the ball over. Bryce Young, he is well on his way to being out of the league. Right now, he is the only passenger on the Bruce Caboose, and the train, it is on a direct path to the CFL. Maybe Bryce Young will get lucky and some desperate team in the XFL will pick him up, or the USFL, or the UFL, whatever the hell they're calling that damn league where the players are barely making minimum wage. You know, Bryce Young's already at a severe disadvantage because he's so short. He's only 5'10". Most of the dump divers in the WNBA, they are taller than Bryce Young. If you're a short quarterback in the NFL, you have got to be elite in other areas, whether it's elite speed, elite accuracy. The only thing Bryce Young is elite at is losing football games. And he compounds his lack of physical tools with poor decision making, missing wide open receivers and inexcusable interceptions. Hell, this kid, he is the undisputed captain of the bum squad. If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. If you happen to stumble across this video, make sure to check out my main channel, Behind the Line. If you search Behind the Line on YouTube, I think it's the only one that pops up. All right, one of my biggest complaints about the Saints the last couple of years, and I've had a lot of them, but one of my biggest complaints was how boring the product on the field was. Obviously, I want the Saints to win, but if they're going to lose, if they're not going to make the playoffs, I at least want to be entertained while they lose. Since Dennis Allen was promoted to head coach, the Saints have been painfully boring. Which kind of makes sense because teams, they often adopt the characteristics of their head coach. Dennis Allen is a boring dude, and it seemed like the rest of the team was following his lead. You could tell at certain points last year that the entire team was miserable. Alvin Kamara, who is usually all smiles and jovial when speaking to the media, he was constantly pissed off. Derek Carr is fighting with his receivers. The offensive line couldn't block a booger. It was an absolute disaster, and I expected the same result this season, especially with the offensive line. But credit where credit is due. I thought the offensive line looked pretty good today. Trevor Penning, who was at risk of joining Bryce Young on the Bruce Caboose, outside of a holding penalty, I thought Trevor Penning played well. The defense, elite, which was the expectation. Demario Davis doesn't get the credit he deserves as one of the best linebackers in the league. Defensive line looked good, secondary, elite. The offense was the primary concern going into the season, and Clint Kubiak, he eliminated a lot of those concerns. This looked like a completely different offense. For the first time in the Dennis Allen era, The Saints actually look like an NFL offense. I thought the most impressive thing from Dennis Allen today was his halftime interview. This dude managed to make it through a halftime interview without saying something stupid. All kidding aside, though, Dennis Allen, he did exactly what smart coaches are supposed to do. He gave Clint Kubiak the keys to the offense, and Dennis Allen, he got the hell out of the way. Now, he couldn't do that last year with Pete Carmichael, the Duke of Doofus, but we finally have an offensive coordinator who knows how to scheme, who knows how to effectively use personnel. We finally have an offensive coordinator who knows how to call games in the NFL. I believe they call that a professional. Maybe this is exactly what Dennis Allen needed to save his head coaching career. There is no doubt Dennis Allen, one of the best defensive minds in the league, maybe even the best. Now that he has a competent offensive coordinator, it might save his job. Now, I'm not trying to get too excited here because it's just one game against a rookie head coach and the worst quarterback in the league. But the reason I'm excited is because of the execution. For the first time in 2 or 3 years, there is hope in New Orleans. For the first time in 2 or 3 years, there is a reason for optimism. Now, that being said, we're about to find out how good or how bad the Saints are. Next 5 games: at Dallas, home against the Eagles and Falcons; at Kansas City, home of the insufferable Swiffers. The Swiffers, they were at the U.S. Open today with Patrick Mahomes. Tay and Patrick, they were sitting there talking, and you could barely see Kelsey Swiffer in the background. And the only reason I recognize Kelsey is because I saw one of the worst mustaches I have ever seen, and I knew that had to be him. But after the game in Kansas City, Saints return home to play the Bucs. Going into the season, I thought the Saints would be 1-5 going into the game against the Broncos in mid-October. Now, I think it's realistic to expect them to be 4-2, with the 2 losses coming against the Eagles and the Chiefs. Well, KC, there is no way the Saints are beating the Cowboys. They have Dak Prescott. Yeah, Dak Prescott, the most overrated and now the most overpaid quarterback in the league. But what do you guys think? Can the Saints open the season 4-2? Could they be a legitimate playoff contender this season? Or do you think today was just an illusion? Was it simply a beatdown against the worst team and the worst quarterback in the league? Again, I'm trying to temper my excitement and my optimism. I mean, Dennis Allen is still the head coach, but after 2 years of bitterness, I'm just glad that I didn't have to be negative today. Give me your prediction, though. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys tomorrow on the main channel.